no club is an island, no Toastmaster is an island.
They assume that the leaders are paid or something like that, and they don't realize we're all volunteers.
I treat Toastmasters like a sandbox for my career. It's let me experiment, build new skills, try new things, and grow.
Imagine district leader training. I've never had better training, even through my career. I've never received better quality training than what I've received from Toastmasters.
Welcome everybody to the Leadership What's in It for You panel discussion. We have with us Michael, who will be kicking us off with his panelists, Moya Webb, Phyllis Nielsen, and Mark Hurrell. But before we start, I'm just going to give you a little introduction of why I got into leadership. So I joined Toastmasters 24 years ago, January 1st. And when I started because I really felt that when I spoke in public that I was nervous. I couldn't put my thoughts together. I would get sweaty palms and shaky knees. So I decided to push myself into the Toastmaster world. And one of the things I did was I got involved in contests, and I just kept pushing myself to go into this contest and that contest and this contest. And I had a little bit of success here and there. And then I got tired of it. And so somebody said, well, why don't you be an area governor? And that's back in the early 2000s. And I went, okay, I'll give that a try. And by the time I finished the end of that year, I went, oh, wow. Now I know what I'm doing. I could do this again. We've all heard that, right?
Yeah.
But one of the things I've learned since then, I've since been the club growth director. I have been the program quality director. I've been the district director. And one of the things that I've learned since taking on that role, or those roles, is that my confidence has just gone even higher, and my ability to not have shaky hands and wobbly knees has subsided, and I am able to put two sentences together without freaking out, if you like. So my journey into leadership was not something that I intended to do, but I just decided to push myself to trying something different. And I'll tell you, the learning that I have acquired through the last 4 years of taking on district leadership positions and just pushing myself beyond what was comfortable at the time, one of the things I learned is that it always works out. You may not know when you start, but you're here to learn, and you learn, you grow, and you just take off. And so with that, I'm just going to pass this panel over to Michael Bown, and he can work with his three panelists, and I will step back and be a participant. Back to you, Michael.
Thank you very much, Karen. It is such an honor to be here. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone here that has taken the time out of their busy lives to join us for this leadership panel. Our focus tonight is going to be on how we explore leadership, how we engage with leadership, how we benefit from being leaders in different roles within Toastmasters and, of course, beyond. And our lens will be slightly focused more on district leadership, just because that's where we're trying to focus a lot of our energy at the moment, is finding those people that step up, step out of their clubs and serve their groups of clubs, or perhaps a large group of clubs, to elevate everyone up. So most of what you'll hear tonight is going to be focused on just general leadership, but there will be some questions that will focus more on the district side. And I would encourage you, as you hear those questions and answers, that you reflect not just on the district impacts, but also from a club perspective, because I suspect many leadership lessons that we talk about will apply no matter where you're leading, whether that be in your club, in your area, your division, district, even internationally. They all apply. And same with if you're seeking a leadership role within the organization you're part of, a community group, whatever it happens to be. And boy, am I fortunate today to have a wonderful panel of folks that are working with us to answer some of the questions. I'm the fortunate one that gets to delve out all those table topic questions at these three brave individuals who have agreed to step up and answer some of the questions that that perhaps we have. I have collected some questions when you registered, and a few of those have come up, in addition to questions that I have pre-prepared. And finally, we will also take some questions in the chat. So as we go through this meeting, I would encourage you, we've got until about 8 o'clock. I don't want to keep people that much longer than that. So perhaps once we kick off our questions, we'll just kind of feel how it goes and what the right timing is to kind of start to ramp down as we head towards 8 o'clock. And I hope to get everybody out the door about 8 o'clock, if not a couple minutes before. And that is Pacific time for those of you that are not in Pacific time, or 55 minutes from now.
Yeah.
Let's introduce the panelists. So we have, first of all, I'll start with a current leader in the district, and that is Mark Hurrell. By the way, these are distinguished Toastmasters all. So Mark has served in District 96 currently as a division director. For those of you not familiar with District 96, that is the district that is northern BC, Yukon, and in the lower mainland, it gets a little complicated, essentially divides us at the Fraser River. So everything north of the Fraser River is in District 96, and south is in District 21, where we're hosting this event today. So Mark has also served in District 21 as the district finance manager. He's been District 96 administration manager. So really well-rounded individual, and I hope that that will certainly benefit us as we go through to hear some of those experience and perhaps some of the lesser known roles in the organization. We also have distinguished Toastmaster and past district director Phyllis Nielsen. And Phyllis has served in a number of roles as well, including club growth director, district director, and division director here in District 21. And we have distinguished Toastmaster Moya Webb, who has served as an area and division director. You'll notice I don't talk about the club leadership roles because I suspect we would spend the whole hour just listing out all the different club leadership roles everyone has had. I suspect between the four of us here on the line as panel members, we've probably served in all 7 of the club officer roles. So hopefully that will also play off in some of the answers that we delve into today. And with that, perhaps we'll dive into some questions. But before we do that, I just want to remind you again, just down in the chat, feel free to drop any leadership questions that you may have. And my first question is going to be, I think for each person, I'll get you all to share your Toastmasters journey and perhaps highlight some of the most significant leadership roles you've had within the organization. And that doesn't necessarily have to be any one particular role. It could be what you felt was the most significant or most impactful. So again, perhaps share a little bit about your Toastmasters journey and what you have found to be your most significant leadership role within the organization. And perhaps we'll start going around with Moya.
Thank you, Michael. I'm sorry to everyone for the voice. It's the cold that makes it very hard to project. So I hope you can hear me. I've been a Toastmaster since 2006, and I won't go into all the roles in the club. I've been area governor, as it used to be called. And then 2 years later, I was area director again. And as Karen said, once you've done it once, it's like, I know what I'm doing now. I'll do a better time next time I take the role on. So I took it on the second time. And then I had a really interesting experience. The division director, when I was area director for the second time, was Marion Gushugiger. I think a lot of you know her. So I worked with Marion as area director. She was division director. And effectively, I committed halfway through my second area director year to becoming the next division director. I was prepared. I shadowed her. I went with her on all the events. So I was so comfortable going into that division director role. And I think that's one thing that I would say to anyone thinking about taking on a leadership role is you're not alone. There's always somebody who's there to mentor you, to support you. And if you find the right people, you know you can say yes to things, even though you don't know how you're going to do it. you will work it out as you go. So I really enjoyed that year as division director as I moved into that. And one of the things I was most proud of in that year, which is a tiny thing, was the succession planning. I found 3 amazing area directors for the next division director. They're just like, these guys are perfect. And I was so pleased that that was almost like a mini legacy, yeah, to be able to do that. And I had not anticipated going into the division director role that would be something I would even consider as part of the role. But it was so satisfying to find the right people and build them up to it, and sort of like saying, you know, okay, I'm going now, but you're going to have a great year. So, Michael, that would be my biggest, most satisfying role and what I got out of it.
Wonderful. Thank you, Moya. And perhaps we'll hear the same response from Mark.
Okay, thank you very much, Michael, and fellow welcome Toastmasters on this call. So with myself, I started with Toastmasters back in 2012. Unlike many others, I joined while I was still a university student. So I was very early into my studies and very early into my career, trying to figure out, okay, how do I progress? And for me, I treat Toastmasters like a sandbox for my career. It's let me experiment, build new skills, try new things, and grow. When I first jumped from club to district, being an area director, I'd actually been really motivated by a past District 21 program where we had a passport, which encouraged you to visit as many other clubs as you could. And I had so much fun just doing that. I thought area director sounds amazing. I can have fun, visit other clubs, see what they do, and bring all these creative ideas and different ideas back to my own club. From there, I jumped from area to logistics manager for District 21 at the behest of my district director who needed some help. I was very hesitant for that role because I viewed it as being an AV technician. But by being there on the district team, I learned so much more about all the things the district does around the province. And just by being there, I told them I was going to pursue my accounting degree. And they said, hey, did you know there's a finance manager role? Why don't you talk with our current finance manager and see, would you be interested? I did that, and that's where I got a chance to work with Michael too. And that was the biggest growth role to help me propel in my career. I learned so much, was able to try new things and learned a lot. And it's come in handy in my own career after that. So seeing quite a few things that's helped me grow as an individual. If you also have me to cover, Michael, or can we pass it on?
No, that's fantastic. Thanks, Mark. And what an excellent point. Again, as I kind of mentioned a little bit earlier before we started off the session, I do think that the roles like finance manager are not necessarily well known by the greater membership around Toastmasters just in general. So it's wonderful that not only you were able to get into that role, but also have a very positive, not only experience, but really career growth that resulted from it. So kudos to you. And last but not least, Phyllis.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, my fellow Toastmasters, and all the guests in the room today. My name is Phyllis Nielsen. I started in Toastmasters actually 17 years ago this month. It's my anniversary. Throughout my Toastmaster experience, I've been inspired right from the very first meeting. I was so impressed at my first meeting when I heard club members speaking. I thought, wow, are they ever good speakers? I want to be that good someday. You know what? Now people are saying that to me. It's hard to believe, but all throughout my Toastmaster career so far, I've been inspired. There's people in this room today. Tom Jones was the first district governor that I ever attended an event at when he came to Campbell River for a club officer training day. I still remember his speech about big, hairy, audacious goals. I was inspired by Sylvain Hood when he was our division, at the time, Division G was North Island. and he was our division director, and he was looking for someone to, or saying that his position was available and area director positions were available. And Sylvain inspired me. And I called him up after that meeting and I said, Sylvain, I would like to be division director next year. And I did. That was my first role outside of the club. And it's just been a fabulous journey since then, and one has led to another. I'm still being inspired to this day by Toastmasters from near and far. I think of course, for all of us, we're in Toastmasters for ourselves, but performing these roles, taking on tasks or sponsoring events is how I feed myself. And my most significant accomplishment, I believe, is not one of my large leadership roles that I've held. It's being vice president of membership and introducing new members to Toastmasters. It's also being a fellow club member, because some of my fellow club members will tell you that I've dragged them across the finish line to get their Distinguished Toastmaster Award, or that I pulled them out of the club and joined me on a division team as area directors, or, and more recently, as a district officer. And so it's all good, and I'm excited about what the future holds for my next 17 years.
Wonderful. Thank you. And happy anniversary as well, Phyllis. That's wonderful news. So let's go back to Mark here for a moment, because you said something that really piqued my interest, and that was regarding the fact that you have had some career growth. So I'd love to learn a little bit more about that, because I suspect some folks on the line perhaps are thinking, hey, I wouldn't mind a boost in my career, whatever path they so choose to follow. What was that experience for you? So what happened? Do you mind maybe sharing a little bit about that?
Sure, I'll kind of split that in two ways. One you probably won't expect. So first off, I was pursuing an accounting degree at Qualman. So filling into that finance manager role was a big step up, as most of the experience I'd had before was some very simple bookkeeping, very simple data entry. But then having had that chance to do a bigger volunteer role, that was really good experience. I was always questioned on every interview. And having used different softwares as a finance manager, I saw some of those repeat in some of the different companies I worked with. So I had prior knowledge and helped me kind of coordinate things a little bit better. So the finance manager really helped me quite a bit. Unfortunately, I'm not pursuing accounting at the moment because of some issues with the final exam, but now I've made a pivot. As I was telling Michael just last month, I now started a role as an event specialist. So helping train volunteers on public speaking and leadership skills, as well as helping students orient themselves to university. So taking some of these things that we learned from Toastmasters meetings and Toastmaster district leadership roles and applying them in a university setting. So even though my original thought with finance manager growing my career worked for a while, Toastmasters overall seems to be pushing me in new directions, which just makes it all the more exciting.
That's wonderful. So I suppose if we think about the role of our district, or rather our club treasurer, that role is managing, a budget and finances for a club, but really a district finance manager is kind of taking it up just another level. So if somebody's pursuing, for example, a career in finance or something along those lines, accounting, this certainly seems like it would be a really helpful step in career progression. And I understand with accounting, you also need to keep up a certain amount of professional development, right, for designation?
You do.
Yeah, so that's beneficial. Would that also apply then if you took on, let's say, an area director role? Could you use that as your experience as well?
CPA is a little bit finicky on what counts as professional development and not. So sadly, I can't state whether finance manager or area director would count. But the CPA does have a list of guides on where they want to see development go. I wrote an article for both District 21, District 96, going point for point. Here's how Toastmasters matches the goals of a CPA to show that our program does guide for what the professionals are looking for. even if they may not officially count it exactly one for one.
That's wonderful. So it sounds like anybody in the audience that potentially is in finance, in accounting, anything to do with numbers, probably reach out to Mark for some suggestions on how you could perhaps utilize, regardless whether you're a club treasurer, a club president, prospective finance manager, or anything in between. Really, there's some good tips out there. Perhaps we'll go over to Phyllis now. And Phyllis, I'm just wondering if you can share a specific instance where your leadership in Toastmasters has directly contributed to this growth or success. And that could be either a club or district. So how a specific instance where your leadership has directly contributed to success of a club or district.
Thank you, Michael. The first one that comes immediately to mind is the last time I was the president of Arbutus Toastmasters. This was the final transition year from the legacy program into Pathways. And I believe my term was ending in June, and that's when legacy would be finished. In order to introduce our club members to Pathways more, to get them involved and to inspire them, because a few years before that, when Kristen Nichols and I chaired the conference, the fall conference in Parksville at Tinamera, our entire club got behind us, and everybody loved that because they worked as a team and the club had a purpose. And so I remembered that, and when I was president the second time, and on our final year of legacy program, I asked the club for their permission to have a club goal for the year to become the largest club and to earn the most educational awards that we could. And let's see how high in the rankings we can go. And we created a chart, and every educational award that our members earned was tracked. And we worked as a team, and I mentored or assigned people to talk to every club member and get their goals and show them how they could achieve the most awards possible that year. And people got very involved, and I held the results back until our year-end barbecue. And then I showed them that, if I remember correctly, the club had earned enough educational awards to be ranked 3rd in Canada for educational awards, and I think we were tied at 15th worldwide, and they just went crazy. And so I was very proud of that, not because of the awards or the result, but because of the teamwork and the camaraderie we built, and people still talk about that year. Just a simple idea.
Wow, that is absolutely phenomenal. That's incredible to know that your club is in kind of that top 15 in the world. Must be just a tremendously powerful experience for all the members. And for those of us who have had experiences like that, where we've just run that really powerful ship, you've got this club that's just chugging along. It's just an amazing energy that comes off of that club, that group, and it just kind of naturally starts to attain more members. It's easier to keep the members that you've got. People are coming through the door. I know of one club at this moment, actually, that's essentially, they said, we need a wait list to become a member to join this club. And it's like, oh my goodness, like, to have people that are willing to wait is a testimonial in itself. So kudos to you, Phyllis, for that. That's absolutely mind-blowing to be top 15 in the world. I'd like to go over to Moya now. I know, Moya, you've got some experience in running contests. This was one of the questions that came in from a registrant. Just curious about any tips or suggestions you have for running contests, and that's regardless at the area or club or district level. What would be some suggestions you would have for an organizer?
Well, something I didn't mention at my district level was, in one district conference, I was contest chair for the contests at that district conference. And It's a tribute to my experience at the club level and area and division. I could say, yeah, sure, I'll be contest chair for the whole conference, and then work out how I was going to make that work. So you do gain confidence as you go. One thing is you don't do it all by yourself. You have to build the team, absolutely knowing the key positions and getting the right person in the right job. I know some fabulous Toastmasters who are not very tech savvy, shall we say, and you know the right roles to put them in, and putting them in a role that requires them to work online in a hybrid situation would be a challenge to them. We've just had our club level contests, and we are a hybrid club. We always have been since COVID started. We went all on Zoom, and as soon as we were back together, we've been hybrid. So we have invested the money and the technology to make it work. We knew that our area level contest was going to be hybrid, or we thought it was. So we decided as a club, we had to practice a hybrid contest. So I was just contest chair, and we had to get over all the challenges of some of our judges are on Zoom and the chief judge is in the room. And how do you get that? How do you give enough instructions so that you can get the ballots directly to the right person? Now, we weren't using the online system, so we had to rely on texts and filling out the form, taking a photo, texting the right person, letting the chief judge and the ballot counter know who they were expecting texts from, etc. And then vice versa, we had contestants on Zoom as well as contestants in the room. So there were lots of challenges. So first of all, you needed tech support, a tech competent sergeant-at-arms, as well as a sergeant-at-arms in the room. So there's more involved. Another step that we did, because we meet at 6:45 in the morning, and we have to be out of the room at 8 o'clock in the morning, we are out of that room. So to have a contest there, I took a lot of the briefings out of the meeting. So everything's were distributed beforehand. I checked in with each person what their questions were. We did a mini briefing in front of the whole group, because that's an educational way to transfer knowledge. But a lot of the material that would previously have been done in a face-to-face briefing, we did beforehand to transmit those details. The other part that we've learned is that at a club level, we've lost a lot of the experience. We probably have 5 members who've been with us a significant period of time. So every year is the first time some people have ever got involved. So you can't take anything for granted. You have to make sure that you cover everything. And we actually had a brand new member who, it was only her second meeting, she had a role in the contest, because then suddenly she's part of it. And she was excited to be part of that. So it is a mixture of building your team, fitting the right person to the requirements of that, and motivating and educating, and then just doing it. Yes, we learned some things did not work out, but overall it was a successful contest, and we really enjoyed it, and inspiring some relatively new Toastmasters to compete and helping them quickly get enough speeches through so that they were eligible. That built an excitement that was quite gratifying to see them fired up and ready to go. It was very enjoyable.
Phenomenal. And I think one of the takeaways there is that not being afraid to engage with people that are newer in the process. You know, perhaps somebody's not ready to be a speech contestant necessarily, but they're happy to be, you know, a sergeant-at-arms or a ballot counter or something just to get them involved. And our newer members are often our most keen, right? And therefore it's wonderfully powerful to get them engaged early on. And I know that some of the more powerful districts around the world have asked them, you know, what's your secret sauce to having that much energy and that much just overall excitement. And they said that was their secret as well, with bringing club members out of the club and into district activities as soon as possible once they join. So same thing, if you're running a speech contest at your club or your area, not being shy and asking people, hey, would you like to be involved? I recognize maybe you're not comfortable yet with some of the more advanced roles, but perhaps just, you know, this small role. It's wonderful. I think that kind of leads into a question I'd like to go back to all of you and hear your perspective on this, because when I think about leadership and our current state in Toastmasters, and frankly, this applies to really any organization which relies on people that are willing to serve out of the kindness of their hearts, is finding those leaders. And that's, of course, a big challenge I find in the club. There's sometimes, at least in my club, and I suspect for many of you, there's people that don't necessarily want to step up and be the next club president, or areas, you know, sometimes we have gaps in areas, which is unfortunate, because that means there's not a kind of a person that presidents can reach out to help them, mentor them along. And it really goes all the way up, quite frankly, to our international level, where we see some of our region advisors, for example, serve for a couple of years back to back. So I'm just wondering if any of you can share from your perspective how we can inspire members to take on leadership roles and contribute to the overall success of our organization, which of course benefits all of us in return. Perhaps Phyllis, did you want to kick that one off?
Absolutely. Thank you, Michael. I definitely have some good ideas on that. First of all, I believe it does include what you just mentioned and what Moya was referring to. Our clubs and our members should become more familiar with the various levels of Toastmasters through contests, through training, any other events, conferences, etc., and become familiar with it. And the more they can see it happening and fellow members, the more non-threatening it will be. But there also has to be a change in thinking or the culture, because I think a lot of people make a serious mistake when in their thinking of Toastmasters, and here's why, is many times when you belong to other organizations and you're volunteering or you're on a board, you know, it might be a civic or a service organization like the Lions, right? Many others, Rotary, they all do a lot of good works. And people might think because Toastmasters is a club that we operate the same way. We don't. We're an educational organization. And we can't look at serving on our club executive or in any other level of Toastmasters as a position that is done through the goodness of our heart, through volunteering. It's not that. Performing all of these roles or activities, positions, they're part of our education. This is how Toastmasters delivers our education. Tom taught me this. And I like to think of it as, you know, would you buy a membership to BCAA or the Canadian Automobile Association or the American Automobile Association? And would you pay $200 a year for that membership and then only use it in your hometown? It's no different. I want that membership when I'm traveling to Alberta. And last year when I drove to Nashville or a year and a half ago when I drove to Nashville for the international convention, I wanted my membership because that's what I needed and I can use it, you know. Or would you buy a membership at the golf course and say, oh, okay, I'm only going to use it for 6 months from January until June? Look at what we're missing. And this is really, and when I look at the roles I've held, I have received more education, more skill development, more improvement in my public speaking and my leadership the years that I took on more significant positions, and always usually a position outside of my club. I think of it as the first time I did it, division director. I did division director before I did area director. And that's when we had the two manuals, a competent communicator, competent leader. And I said, okay, I've been in Toastmasters for 5 years now. And I've only been doing the competent communicator manual. Really, I want to stretch this is going to be a year for leadership. So I said, I want to be division director. And I think of that as a year of Toastmasters on steroids, where I got 3, maybe 4 years of experience condensed into 1 year. And that year was my biggest growth. But every other year that I've done another role has been such significant in my growth. And I really do truly believe that's where we get our education from, and how we use it just affects both our professional, our personal lives, even our post-retirement lives, because that's usually when people go on and they get involved in organizations, they're chairing boards and foundations, and that's where you can really use all the Toastmasters skills. So Mr. Chair and fellow Toastmasters, don't discount leadership roles, and the more significant, the greater your personal benefit will be. And don't be afraid, because Toastmasters teaches us how to do it, as you know, just as a club officer, and you don't have to have the skills when you start. You will learn them as you go, and there will be people there to assist and to mentor you.
Wonderful. Very eloquent. Thank you, Phyllis. And Mark, same question, just in regards to how we can encourage people to step up and take on leadership roles, regardless club or district.
I'd say, kind of jumping off some of Phyllis's last points, I strongly believe in the power of mentorship. I've been a mentor for many new members, and often find that having that personal connection to figure out where do they want to grow, what do they want to achieve, can really help me push them to take that next step to, hey, you want to learn how to liaise and evaluate stronger? Try being an area director. You'll see all these different evaluations in different clubs. You'll see all these different strengths and weaknesses in each club, which you can bring back to your own. Or someone is like me and looking to build a bit more technical skill. If they've done club treasurer, why not join the audit committee, help audit the district, or jump into finance manager? So really getting to know the person, figure out, hey, where is it you want to be? And having that knowledge myself to say, here's a good role that can really help you grow and build those skills. And on the flip side, from the member's perspective, many of our new members don't know what they don't know. So if you are a new member wondering, hey, should I step into district leadership? Try to find some of those Toastmasters in your club that have got really strong skills you admire, who have done a lot of things, and try to figure out where did they grow those skills, because they may be able to point you into the right role for you to help build you in the ways you want to grow. So I'd say those are my 2 cents on how we can encourage more people to step up.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mark. And whoa, there's such thing as a district audit committee? So that's just, you know, another role that perhaps people aren't familiar with. So certainly something to consider if that's of interest as well. And I see, Barry, you've got your hand up. I'm just going to let Moya answer this question as well, and then we'll come to your question if that's okay. Moya.
Thank you, Michael. And I'm in life a great believer in that you get what you measure. You get what you celebrate. So if you want to encourage leadership and people taking on roles, you have to recognize them. When somebody does the right thing, celebrate it, announce it, then everyone else starts to celebrate it. For example, we know that when newcomers come into a club meeting, they assume that the leaders are paid or something like that, and they don't realize we're all volunteers. And if you regularly talk about the roles, and this person coming up is VP of Education and whatever, and you regularly recognize the contributions that your executives members are making, then there is that awareness. Previously, I think, pre-COVID, there was a lot more community building. I remember the first time I was area governor, I had 4 clubs in my area. The other area governor for Kelowna had 4 clubs, and we brought both events together, both areas. And we had extra events and Christmas toast contests and summer events, and suddenly all the members knew what an area was, and there was some sense of competition that we want our area to beat the other area. And that required us to come together. So that's part of the challenge we now have, is we are separate. We don't come together very often, apart from through contests, and then typically it's only a small subset of members that get involved in that. I personally have a sort of a little network. My hairdresser is a Toastmaster in another club. Whenever I'm having a haircut, we just talk Toastmasters constantly. I advise her, she advises me, we find out what's going on, and that's a remnant of what used to be there. I think I'd also like to echo something that I think Phyllis was talking about, of you developing skill you can use outside that's different. And she mentioned in passing Rotary, and I agree it's totally different. But like Mark, I got involved as a treasurer, and I've been a treasurer 7 times now. And then once I retired, I became a treasurer of my Rotary Club, which is a whole different kettle of fish. I had budgets of, you know, $250,000 to deal with. I could not have taken that on without what Toastmasters gave to me. But the first time I was a treasurer in my club, I needed another person to say, Moya, I think you can do this. And so that's the approach I take and we take in my club. We don't say we're holding elections, step up. We talk amongst ourselves and we say, hey, that person would be a great president. That person would be a great VP of membership. And then whoever knows that person best approaches them and says, this is what we see in you. We've really enjoyed what we've seen in this side and this side. Would you like to know more about the role? Let me tell you about what's involved in the role. Would you like to come to one of our board meetings and find out what it's like to be on the board? And that way, it's a lot harder to say no when it's a personal invitation. And you feel, well, if I think I'm capable of it because they invited me, yeah, I'll step up. So I think that personal invitation is a way of pulling people in and then saying, you did really well in that role. I think that the next step would be, so it requires us older time members or someone who's been on the executive for multiple years to be willing to think about that succession planning and make those suggestions. What's harder is above the club level, because we are now in like little silos and trying to find individuals can perhaps see area directors within their club, but finding people who have the experience to go above that is more challenging because we only really know our clubs now. That's all I have, Michael.
That is wonderful. Thank you so much, Moya, as well. We'll go over to Barry. Barry, you had a question?
How am I going to promote the newer members taking a part in the leadership of the role when the main focus of the people that I'm working with do not want to get involved in the foundation of Toastmasters?
Yeah, you know, Barry, I suspect I kind of get the gist of what you're saying. I don't know that I can clearly articulate it as well, but I certainly have seen this type of situation unfold at clubs, and it's not unusual. So I want you to first of all reassure you that you're not dealing with, you know, a one-off situation with your club. I suspect many, if not all, clubs go through this at some point. So I want to first of all reassure you with that, and perhaps we could get Phyllis to talk a little bit about your experience in getting people engaged and involved.
Thank you, Michael. Thanks for that question, Barry. that is a real challenging situation that's not going to be easy to solve, nor is it an overnight fix. This would be a long-term plan that would have to be put into place. But as far as the new members are concerned, what I can tell you tonight is that, well, really two things I hope that you could take action on. First is you got to have your existing members be role models so that new members can see how to emulate in their behavior in the club. But second of all, new members, I really believe if as a club we're not giving our new members enough information when they join, that I hear over and over again that members or guests are informed about the benefits of Toastmasters, but we fail as clubs if we're not sharing with them the obligations or the expectations of them as a member when they join Toastmasters. And that conversation needs to be done when they're signing the dotted line so they know what's in store. And the biggest thing I think you can do is set standards for your club members. And if you can get your existing members to do that as well and adopt it. A couple of years ago, I come up with what I called the 10-20 plus program. And 10-20 is from my policing background, and 10-20 in police code stands for your location. What's your 10-20 means, where are you? And if I ask myself that as a Toastmaster, where am I? 10-20 kind of makes sense. And to me, I interpret that as being 10 speeches a year. That's only one a month and 2 months off for good behavior. 20 meeting roles a year, minimum. There's the 10-20, and plus means the Toastmaster promise. It means arriving on time, prepared for your roles, and serving on your club executive when asked. And that's all in the Toastmaster promise. And that means really 10 speeches a year, gets your educational program going. Members are receiving growth. They're doing 2 levels. Maybe you want to go further and make it a Triple Crown club and go for 3 educational awards per year. Those educational awards and pathways means that they're performing leadership roles. Serving on the club executive within their first year, after their first year, means they're exposed to club leadership. And then that's just the beginning, but there's so much more, I think, that would involve that we can't address tonight.
Yeah.
So I think that would be a good start.
Yeah, 100%. And, Barry, as I mentioned there at the introduction to this response, I suspect we can probably get you some support offline as well with, how to tackle this challenge, because this is, key to getting the club to be really high functioning, right? Moya, did you have a couple words you wanted to add on that as well?
Yes, I did, and I'll lower my hand while I remember. I totally agree on the Toastmasters promise, and having an induction where everybody says it is fantastic, making that the baseline. Another thing that I have seen and that we do as a club that supports that is in the goal setting. So we as a club have had 9 consecutive years of Presidents Distinguished. At the beginning of every year, we say, we're going to do it again. So Pablo and I are on the executive this year, and this is the 10th year. We seriously can't let down that track record. So we talk about it all the time. We keep bringing it up. This is a club effort. We cannot do this on our own. We need you and you to do your level 1s. Come on, when can we schedule you? And you over here, you're nearly at level 3, aren't you? When can you do it? And it's all like, we as a club have to work together to get this success. And once you've got a bit of a track record, the DCP sets out, these are all the things you need to do to be a vibrant club. And if you focus on that, as I said earlier, you get what you measure. We measure DCP, so we get those results. We talk about it. It's like, hey, by the way, we've got another point, and we're now at 6 out of 10, and we're only in January, and we are constantly making that sound exciting. And as we head into February, March, we talk about what celebration we're going to have after the end of June when we make it again. How are we going to celebrate? We're going to have a barbecue this year. Should we go to the beach? And it becomes a club-wide goal. It becomes something positive and energized that everybody else wants to get involved with. And if you can do that, then the newer members want to be part of it, and they know they need to get involved to help your club be successful. It's not just the old hands. You need all the young blood to help with it too. So that would be my suggestion.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Moya. And I just recognizing we've got just a couple minutes left here, just two quick questions that I think we can address before we head towards conclusion of this meeting. First of all, in the chat, Christine, you had posted a question about where can members get mentorship with DTM completion on pathways if no one else in their home club has a DTM? So I was thinking, Mark, maybe this is something you might be comfortable weighing in on. I know you've got some mentoring background.
Sure, I think I can address both Barry and Christine with the same answer. No club is an island. So just like with Barry having some leaders that aren't able to do success planning, with Christine not having DTMs within her own club. We have areas, we have divisions, we have a district. There's lots of Toastmasters around. So you don't just need to be asking for mentorship for new leaders from your own club. You'd always speak with your area director, division director, or even depending, ask for a club coach. Similarly, if you need mentoring on how to complete your DTM, you can always speak with area director, division director, or even talking to neighboring clubs. Maybe there's someone in a club in your same area that has a DTM that just might be looking for a mentee. So don't just consider your club to be on its own. There's lots of support all throughout.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Mark. And, you know, as we head towards probably our last question of the day here, I can't help but notice that theme that we're seeing throughout this about, you know, that no club is an island, no person is an island, that supportive mentality that Toastmasters is all about. And that's really a wonderful thing. And hopefully everybody takes away that today, thinking about, hey, who can I connect with? Who can I reach out to? Maybe that's somebody you're already on the call with, like one of the panelists rather. Maybe that's somebody like a Karen, Carlos. I know you've got some really rich experience. Bruce as well, of course. Just looking around, some fabulous people. Tom Jones, of course, who has served us as our past international director on the international board. Some really deep experience. I know, Christine, you're also serving as an area director. Lots of good people to reach out with. So please feel free to private message people as well and get their contact details. I'm sure lots of people here would be happy to help each other. But let's take it home with Phyllis. Phyllis, I'm wondering, your experience includes district director and many roles beyond that, of course. And I'm just trying to understand, because we're part of a global community as well, going back to that no club is an island. So take us home with the last question of the evening with maybe sharing some of your perspectives on what you've gained by visiting other clubs, both as a member, a leader, and also international training, because of course you would have been training as district director and club growth director with the rest of the world. Which I'm sure would have offered you some different insights. So maybe just share a little bit about that before we close out.
Thank you, Michael. Yes, of course. One thing I'd like everyone to know is that the quality of the training that you receive when you are a district officer is second to none. And I've heard from other Toastmasters who've been involved in a lot of other service organizations, and they say that when they go on to that leadership in those clubs, there's no training involved for them. And I don't know if that's true with all the organizations, but when this fellow member came to Toastmasters, and the first time he started as a club executive member, he was shocked. And he also said that the quality of just club officer training was great. And he was so surprised that Toastmasters trains their club leaders. Well, you know what club leadership training is like. Imagine district leader training. I've never had better training, even through my career. I've never received better quality training than what I've received from Toastmasters. And I was fortunate to have 3 years or two years of the training, serving as the club growth director and then as the district director. And I've been fortunate to meet many of the trainers and my fellow district officers in my travels, going to district or international conventions. I even made a special stop in Tacoma, Washington, to see a Toastmaster who had helped deliver training and who's become a mentor for me. Now, when I go to other events or I pop into a club officer training somewhere, I'm meeting leaders that I've met in other training. It really is second to none. Toastmasters International goes out of their way to provide the latest and the best training. They really know what it is that we need. They know what the situations are at the club level and in the leadership world, and they provide that. And so it's there for us. And that's why I say if you're not taking leadership roles, you're missing out on half of your membership. Right? If you're just staying at home, there's just so much to be gained. I still keep that. I won't delete it off my computer because I remember something. Oh, I want to read it again. And I go back and I look at something from 3 years ago. I'm not getting rid of that. It's too good. And I sometimes draw on that and I will share it with members that I encounter who might need it. You know, there might be a Barry or someone at my club, or I'll put it together, something into an education session and benefit my division or my club. So I'm just so thankful for it. And I haven't regretted a minute of the time that I've spent in any of the roles that I've taken on.
Thank you, Phyllis. What a wonderful answer to that question to kind of end off this session. And just kind of final thoughts here as I look around the room, that theme of kind of this, no club is an island, no Toastmaster is an island, is really screaming out at me off the screen here. I look around and I see people that live in the same neighborhood as me or the same community as me, just as closely as I see people that are in different areas of not only BC, but I see we have, of course, people from, South America, perhaps on the line, Carlos, Peru there. See people in China, Bruce, of course. So we're really a global community, and I really want to emphasize that. And if you haven't had a chance to visit other clubs, here's your opportunity. Go out there, whether that be join a Zoom meeting on the other side of the world. I've had so much fun with that. Or perhaps if you don't want to visit the other side of the world, consider being an area or division director to gain some skills in sharing with members throughout the area and division and supporting them in their journeys. Or if you're looking at pursuing a role like what Phyllis has done as district director, you have that opportunity to take international training. You go to the international convention. Last year it was in the Bahamas. This year in the greater LA area, where you can go and learn. So with that, I think we'll, if anybody wants to stick around to ask some, one-on-one questions or anything like that, I 100% am happy to stick around for a bit. But I also don't want to keep everybody all night. I recognize we all live busy lives. And from the bottom of my heart, I thank all of you for your questions and for your responses to the panelists. You've all been phenomenal, and I hope everybody leaves with something, regardless whether that was many things they were thinking of or one thing. I hope you all have left with something, and feel free to connect anytime. I'm 100% in everybody's corner. And with that, we'll call it a meeting. Thank you again, everybody.
Thank you, Michael. Great session.
My email in the chat if anybody ever wants to reach out, support, questions, anything like that, feel free.
Can I share something that I came across when I was thinking about stepping up to the district trio? I went and talked to a lot of people, and I considered my decision for a good 6 or 8 weeks. I knew eventually I would become a district leader. It was when, and when I had said no, I think once or twice before, but on the last time I was asked, I thought this might be the time. And so I really gave it a lot of thought, asked a lot of people. And I talked to a past district director from District 96, actually. She used to be in our district, District 21. And I actually asked her, and this, if she ever regretted becoming the district director. And she was a younger woman. And immediately the answer out of her mouth was, hell no. You know, and I think she was maybe 25 years old, 26 years old. And she had rose to that position. And, it was just emphatic. You knew it came right from her heart. And I thought, wow, that spoke a lot to me.
Yeah.
And so.
And I would say the same thing, Phyllis. I mean, I've served in all the trio roles and a couple other roles in district and club, and no regrets. There was certainly some moments in the heat of the moment when you're dealing with it, as I'm sure everybody else that served in district leadership knows. It gets a little bit intense a few moments along the journey, but when you look back in the rearview mirror, you're like, that was an incredible experience. And I'll never forget the first time sitting at a table, and my first training as club growth director was in Washington, D.C. at the 2016 International Convention. And, I was across the table from this incredible, boisterous, booming voice person, John Jennings from the Sydney area in Australia. And just like, that was just a moment of like, this is cool. Like, to be at a table sitting across from somebody from Australia that's got the same job as me, and just sharing experiences, hearing about what it's like to do that same role in Australia. And of course, we had people from around the world in that training session. So it wasn't just Australia, it was Asia, Europe, other parts of North America, etc. So, that for me was just so eye-opening, and I don't regret it for a second. And it doesn't sound like you do either, Phyllis.
No.
So yeah, it's really cool. And for anybody, I really encourage you to consider, whatever that happens to be for you. I'm not saying, your path in life necessarily has to be go to district director, because not everybody maybe wants that, but at least consider, how you can support your club or area division. There's some really cool roles. And I don't think anybody regrets it. Well, maybe there's the odd person, but come on, something wrong with them, clearly. I say that tongue in cheek.
I just want to chime in there when you were talking about leadership, is that I look at leadership as leadership is like a box of chocolates. You just never know what you're going to get. And, having been on different trios, I know Michael's been on trios with 3 different groups of people, as have I, as have Phyllis, as have all the leaders that spoke on the panel today. And you don't know who's going to be on that team. And part of what we learn is, how do we work with those people? Number one, how do we connect with them? How do we get to know them? How do we leverage their geniuses versus ours? How do we make it all work together? And how do you make an orchestra out of a bunch of instruments, and how do you put it together? And I think that's the beauty in leadership, is the opportunity to test ourselves, because each of us has a different journey to learn. And I think when we take on leadership, it just sort of unfolds for us, and we learn whatever is on our plate for that particular leadership session, for lack of a better word. But yeah, it's I would never regret having done it. I just wish I could do more of it.
Yeah, that's for sure.
And Karen, if somebody is interested in leadership, what should they do?
Well, if you are interested in learning a little bit more about it, you can go to our district website, which is d21tm.org. And I think Torsten, you could probably navigate them quicker than I can, but you can go and take a look at what the role entails. There's also an email address, and I think it is dlc@d21tm.org. And you can email me, and I'm happy to go ahead and have a conversation with you and answer any questions. Or I can, if there's somebody on this panel that you'd like to talk to, you can reach out to me and I can make sure that they get in touch with you and answer whatever questions you might have.
Yeah, 100%. You know, do consider it. Again, you know, even if now is not the right time, you know, certainly something to think about. You can always also serve as a assistant to somebody if you just want to help out, get a little bit of experience, you know, make it kind of on your terms. I know I talked to a fella just a week or two ago, and they've been an assistant to some area directors and that type of thing, and you know, they found a lot of value in that. They really enjoyed that. So you know, don't put it past. I'm sure nobody would frown upon you if you went up to them and said, "Hey, I wouldn't mind giving you a hand with something." They'd probably do a happy dance, quite honestly. So yeah, and again, it's all about you getting reward. Like, we didn't talk enough about that probably today, but and that's the most important thing, is you have to leave with something in order to make it worth it for you. And sometimes you don't necessarily know going into it what you're going to get, but I found I always get something leaving. Going back to that box of chocolates, it's, you know, whether it's relationships with new people or you know, I personally with Toastmasters went into a job competition and was successful in it, and I attribute that to Toastmasters, because that morning I went to a Toastmasters meeting at 7 o'clock in the morning. That was Rise and Shine Toastmasters, Pat Johnson's home club. They had a speech contest, and I think I was chief judge or something for them. I wasn't a member of the club, but they invited me, and I'm like, okay. And evidently, you know, 7 to 8 a.m. or 7 to 8:20 or something like that was the meeting length. And I went, I got energized up. I had probably too much coffee. And then it was like 8:59 a.m., something like that. I had this interview. And let me tell you, I walked into that interview with more energy than the people that were interviewing me. And needless to say, I walked out, well, not walked out with the job, but I was offered the job subsequently to that interview, and I attribute it to that. So, you know, there's some real genuine returns you can get on it, but it's hard to measure, because it's kind of one of those things. You just know you've gained these things, and you end up reflecting as you go through. And work has also been like really big on me with the awards. You know, I don't usually talk about awards that I get, because that's, you know, kind of cliche. But this past August, I can you see this? I don't know. Here, just a second. Why am I not seeing? Oh, no, you can't see it.
You have to hold it in front of your face, basically.
Yeah.
Turn your background off.
Yeah, I'm just seeing if I can turn it off, but oh, there it is. Yeah. So presidential citation.
Mm-hmm.
And that was an incredible honor to go down and shake Matt Kinsey's hand in August down in the Bahamas and receive that award. And work has been talking about it nonstop. I made the mistake of telling my supervisor that I was going down to collect this award, and you know, and they just I received an award at work this past week, actually, and they talked about it there again. You know, so you know, it's little things like that sometimes that help further, you know, whether that be your career or just any interest you have. So I guess.
Michael, can I make a final comment for myself? Sure. I wanted to let everybody know that you can, whatever role you choose to stretch your wings at, you can make it anything you want practically. Toastmasters will tell you what's expected, but you know, I had so much fun with my role. And in the lead up, I wrote 2 pages in a large notebook like this. I had 2 pages, first of people I wanted on my team, and all the different mini positions or mini roles and duties that I wanted throughout the year. And my second page was all of the events, activities, services, programs that I wanted to provide our district. And it was just so much fun because I'd go through that list and I'd phone up somebody and I say, I want you on my team and this is what I want you for. And I'd tell them why and I'd invest in them. But I had so much fun and I created, new things that had never been done before and new awards or new positions, new titles, activities, events. Had so much fun contributing to our district conference because I had a vision in mind for the year and for that conference on what I wanted to see. So I really got to be so creative and to make it fun, interesting, entertaining. And I know Karen probably witnessed a lot of the things that, right? Probably never seen from another district director before.
We had a blast.
Yeah, but anyway, it's yours to create and to influence and to do what you want with it, so you can have a lot of fun with it while you're learning. That's my last point.
Wonderful. Thank you. Did anybody else on the line have any questions you felt like you didn't get answered, or any other, if anybody wants to have a discussion with any of the panelists or anybody that's on the line, I'm sure we can probably set up like a breakout room or something, or no pressure, just saying if anybody has any particular questions or anything, if you're already here. If not, it's okay. Okay. Well, folks, maybe we'll call it a day then. I certainly appreciate everybody signing on, engaging with us with those questions, and hopefully everybody's leaving with some sort of sense of value from this session. I know I am, and I was just the facilitator. I've grown some through the course of this. So I see.
Thank you, Michael.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, hope everybody has a fantastic
Thanks, Michael.
evening or day or whatever's ahead.
Yeah. Thanks, Michael.
All right.
Bye.
Take care.
Michael, Karen.
Cheers.
Good night, all.
Bye-bye.